In this video, we're finally saying goodbye to Tropical Storm Elsa as it makes its final passage up the East Coast. We're also going to talk about that pesky tropical system in Texas that's dropping unbelievable amounts of rain. Then we're going to focus on a multi-day severe weather event in the Midwest that starts off today with a bang. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. This is the second time that I've filmed this video today. Yes, this video would have been up around 2.5 hours earlier if it had not been for some pretty big thunderstorms that went through my area earlier. We had a really close lightning strike and it knocked out the power here right in the middle of me filming this video, and it corrupted the file, so I have to restart. But while the power was out, I actually went out into my local neck of the woods here and got some video footage of the aftermath of the storm. We had some localized flash flooding, and that all came from about, an 1.5 or 2 inches of rain that fell really quick here in the mountains of eastern Kentucky. Anytime you get something like that in the valleys, all that water culminates, and we usually experience a lot of flash flooding. So power's back on now and I'm ready to go. Now let's start talking about the weather. All right, here's a big old look at the United States of America, and as you can see, it's pretty active out there. We've got Tropical Storm Elsa making its final rounds over here on the East Coast in New England. It just moved across Long Island, and now it's moving up into Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. We are expecting some pretty gusty winds out here and a lot of heavy rain. Look out for that flash flooding risk all the way up the coast there, even as you get into Manchester and Portland, Maine. Look at that swirling motion though, man. This is just one of the most unusual radar sights you'll see. This kind of looks like a winter storm, like a blizzard moving up the coast, a nor'easter, but no, this is still a tropical storm moving all the way up, and it's going to maintain its strength as a tropical storm way past the United States, which is once again just kind of unheard of this time of year. But I'm happy we're saying goodbye to Elsa. This is probably going to be the last day that we talk about it, and we'll talk a little bit more about it here in a second. But let's check in on my area. Here I am in eastern Kentucky. You can see there was a flash flood warning earlier north and west of me, but there actually was no flash flood warning or flood warning issued for my area with this round of storms that we got, even though there was some minor flooding that happened. But you can see those storms have moved out of the Kentucky area now, and now they are moving into West Virginia and Virginia. And by the time this video goes up, most of this will have dissipated, and it's not going to be much of a worry to anybody. On the southern side of that boundary, though, we are seeing some more storms popping up here in Tennessee into Alabama. That's going to continue to move south into the Birmingham and Atlanta region later today. And then down here in Texas, boy, oh boy, talk about flooding. You guys have been dealing with this pesky little, it's kind of like a tropical system hanging out in the southern tip of Texas, just taking all of the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and dumping all of that water on an area between Corpus Christi and Houston. You guys have just been absolutely inundated by rain, and we'll talk more about when that's going to end here in a second. And then up here, last but not least, we got this big disturbance moving down from South Dakota into Iowa and now Missouri. We saw some severe thunderstorm warnings and a severe thunderstorm watch earlier, and that's just going to intensify. This whole system is going to intensify as we go later on into the day, and this is going to spark a pretty significant severe weather outbreak today and tomorrow, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of that right here in a second. But first, let's get our final official update on Tropical Storm Elsa. All right, the latest from the National Hurricane Center on Tropical Storm Elsa. Once again, this is probably the last time we're going to talk about Elsa. As you can see, tropical storm warnings are in effect all the way up the coast of New Hampshire, and we are expecting this to be a tropical storm all the way up here close to Greenland. And as you can see, it's going to really pick up speed too. By 2 p.m. tomorrow, it's going to be out of North America pretty much. And then by 2 p.m. Sunday, it's going to be heading towards England as a tropical depression. And yes, it's going to maintain its strength as a tropical storm all the way up here north of the 55th parallel up there. So absolutely, cool storm to watch. It's been fun to track it, and thankfully it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but we did see a lot of tornado warnings from Tropical Storm Elsa. We saw a lot of tornadoes and tornado watches and flooding and stuff. So we're happy to get Elsa out of our hair. Let's watch her leave on the weather models. All right, here's the good old trusty HRRR model. Here we are around 12 p.m. Friday today. This is around the time this video should go up. Unfortunately, I know it's late. But as you can see, we got those heavier rain bands now moving into the southeastern Massachusetts region, moving out of Connecticut and Rhode Island at this point, and now Boston. You are in the prime time zone of seeing those heavy rain showers and some pretty gusty winds too. We're talking about tropical storm force winds, especially on the eastern side of this low pressure system over here. That's going to be a brief period of time, but really the main threat here is going to be that heavy rain. Watch out for flash flooding all the way up to coast for southeastern New Hampshire and of course southeastern Maine here as we get get later on into the day, it looks like some of these thunderstorms are going to intensify and really drop the rain from Portland all the way up the coast. We are really fast tracking this thing out of here because it's just picking up speed. Every time this thing moves to the north and east about 30 miles, it picks up another mile an hour in speed almost. So we are really going to be saying goodbye to this thing around 1 a.m. tonight, right around midnight. We're going to get it out of here. And behind it, we are going to see some storms with isolated, wind events and hail coming through the Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island, maybe all the way down into Jersey too. We're going to see some of these storms moving through, and then maybe we might quiet down a little bit here in the Northeast. I know it's been a rainy, stormy time for you guys, and I think we're going to have a little period quieter times as we go a little bit forward. All right, speaking of quieter times, we would love to see it down here in southeastern Texas, guys, from Corpus Christi all the way up to Houston, and even a little bit further south than that, and a little bit inland. We have seen just a tremendous amount of rain down here, lots of flash flooding. I know you guys, some of you guys watch this channel and you're desperate. You're like, when is this rain gonna stop? Thankfully, we do have an answer for you, okay? According to the HRRR, these heavy rain bands are going to continue through much of the day. But look here, as we get closer to 6 and 7 p.m. this evening, become a little bit more scattered, okay? That low pressure system is trying to let go of its grip of the moisture there in the Gulf of Mexico. We're still going to see some isolated showers and thunderstorms. And anytime you get underneath one of these, it's going to pack a punch with very heavy rain. But instead of seeing just one constant stream of showers and thunderstorms, we're actually going to see them start to scatter about. And then as we go into the overnight hours tonight and into the day tomorrow, that scatteredness is going to continue until we get into Sunday. And it looks like Sunday is going to be pretty quiet, okay? At least compared to what we have been seeing. So the worst of the heavy rain there in southeastern Texas is over, thankfully. All right, now let's talk about the main event here, okay? This is the number one thing that we got to talk about today. We do have an enhanced risk for severe weather out here in the Midwest, and we also have a 5% chance of tornadoes and a 30% chance of significant damaging winds, okay? So winds here are going to be the biggest problem. St. Louis, Quincy, Columbia, all these areas in northeastern Missouri need to be on high alert today. There are going to be severe thunderstorms, and they are going to pack a punch, okay? Also, anybody pretty much in this area in the Midwest, you're under the gun for some big thunderstorms today with an emphasis on this area right here, okay? And we're going to see what the HRRR shows as far as what the radar could look like as we go later on into the day. As you can see, this disturbance right here is what's going to spark off the initialization of our storms, and we saw that on radar earlier. And here we go, around 6 or 7 to 8 p.m. This evening, we're going to see some big storms starting to pop off here in Iowa. And look at this, they're moving to the south and east like this. So we've been talking a lot about flash flooding today. That's also still going to be an issue here in Iowa and Illinois and Missouri, okay? Because these storms are going to be training over the same areas over and over again. If you live in a flood-prone area, get ready. Also, we got big supercell thunderstorms popping up over here in Nebraska. All of this is going to culminate into one giant severe weather system around midnight tonight. You can see here we're going to have some big time storms now moving into the northeastern portion of Missouri. On the front edge of this, as this moves down to the south, we are going to be talking about some crazy winds in excess of 50, 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour in some places. So if you live in northeastern Missouri, extreme western Illinois, southeastern Iowa, this is going to be a bad storm for you guys. So make sure you're prepared, all right? The tornado threat is low, but it is still existing, okay? Especially if you can see here, we've got some isolated supercells, all right? In northern Missouri tonight, around midnight or so, we could see some of these storms try to move to the east in a southern moving system, okay? And when that happens, a lot of times they can root up, could create hook echoes, and rotate enough to drop a tornado, all right? So I'm really watching this area right here for the possibility of tornadoes. Not going to be a tornado outbreak, but definitely there is some potential there. Also, we're going to have some really intense winds and big hail with this storm complex moving through Nebraska, okay? So let's keep pushing this forward. The storms are going to last all through the night. We could be talking about some straight line damaging winds and naders in the dark, all the way down into central Illinois, through the St. Louis region, and through much of central and northeastern Missouri, okay? We've got two big complexes of storms back here in Kansas now and Nebraska, and really the main threat back here in Iowa, I think, is going to be that isolated tornado threat and the flash flooding threat, because look at how many storms have just went over the same areas over and over again. And if we track this out all the way into tomorrow, you can see, look at that, you can see that low pressure system here spinning up. And whenever you can see something like that on radar, you know you're dealing with an intense storm system, and we're actually going to see the reformation of these severe thunderstorms tomorrow a little bit further to the south. Look at that, a giant area of severe thunderstorms possible tomorrow from western Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, through much of Missouri, down into Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then down on this side, we once again could be talking about some isolated tornado threats, but definitely some big time wind gusts in excess of 50 or 60, maybe even 70 miles an hour. And then once this turns into a big squall line like this, we could be talking about a widespread damaging wind scenario, okay? This is just kind of gaining strength as it goes forward, and it's only going to get more intense as we go. This is also going to affect the Memphis area, it looks like, early in the morning on Sunday. So we can see why we're having these storms pop up in such great capacity today. If we look at the convective available potential energy model, and you can see here we are nearing 5,000 joules per kilogram through much of Nebraska and Iowa. And where these storms start to pop up, they're going to go to the south and west and eat that convective energy up. And as they eat it, those storms are really going to grow and increase and become really intense as they move to the south, okay? Now, another thing we have to talk about here is the significant tornado parameter, okay? This is as high as I've seen it since March. So once again, I think over here we're going to have that isolated tornado threat, and this model agrees. Once we have that convection meeting up with some of these ingredients in the upper levels of the atmosphere that allow for tornadoes, we are looking at possibly some areas that have a 19 out of 10 on the significant tornado parameter, okay, in northern Missouri, southern Iowa here, right here. This is the area where I'm really watching and I'm kind of concerned about as we go forward with the possibility for some of those tornadoes to pop up. And these are the kind of tornadoes, I don't think they're going to be brief, all right? If we do get a tornado or two out of this, they're going to be long track tornadoes. Once again, I don't want to freak everybody out and say that we're going to have a big tornado outbreak and a lot of people are going to see tornadoes. But the fact of the matter is, if we can get some isolated supercells out of this multicellular storm system, there are going to be some tornadoes. And with these kind of ingredients in the atmosphere, they're going to be big. Also, you remember seeing those big supercell thunderstorms popping up back here in Nebraska and Kansas. We also have to watch this area for the possibility for those to actually become tornadic as well, because there's going to be some pretty significant tornado parameter over there as well. And if we switch over to the North American model, the NAM model, it's even more intense with that significant tornado parameter, still around 20, but it's more widespread here in Iowa. The more I look at this, the more concerned I am becoming with the possibility for some tornadoes. Now, the good news is that what we have going for us is the fact that these storms are going in this direction. And in my experience with predicting tornadoes and forecasting the weather and stuff, that storm direction isn't always the best for tornadic activity. You want to see the storms either traveling directly east or to the north and east to really get all the ingredients together, especially if you want these storms to interact with that lower level jet stream. You want them to be heading in that direction in the initial phase of the storm. That's not to say that we won't see any tornadoes, because even though the overall direction of these storms is this way, some embedded supercells could pop up outside of the main convection and travel east into the rest of the storms that are coming to the south and east. And it's those storms that you have to watch very closely for the possibility for cyclonic rotation, big hook echoes, and giant tornadoes. I mean, it's the plains out here in the summer. You never know what can happen. Also, another good thing we've got going for us, especially here in Iowa, where that significant tornado parameter is the highest. If we look at the NAM 3 kilometer forecast model here with the composite reflectivity, it shows it a little bit better than the HRRR did. This is going to become a linear very fast. So once this becomes a line of storms, the odds of long track tornadoes being in there is very low. At this point, once it becomes a line of storms, we're mainly going to be talking about those straight line damaging winds. But we have to watch out for those random supercell thunderstorms to pop up in front of the main convection, and that's what we're going to be watching closely for tonight. Also, watch these over here. And that's all the weather talk I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you slap a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn those notifications on, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.